Hello there, and this video is about how to get your songs written, which isn't the same as how to write a song. There are loads of videos on YouTube and TikTok that are actually really good, mostly, of how to write songs, talking about structure, talking about lyrics, talking about melodies, all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of not where this video is placed. This is more about the mechanics of literally how to get some songs written. So to start with, this might sound like such an obvious thing to say and obvious advice, but it's just to write songs. Even if you can't accompany yourself musically, it's important that you are just putting pen to paper, so to speak, or stylus to iPad, or whatever it might be, whatever your format is, or voice notes. It's just about starting to get some lyrical ideas down, some messaging down, some commentary around your vision, being able to start articulating bits and pieces of your observations, whether that be your own personal observations of what you're doing, the experiences you're having, the feelings you're having, the emotions you're having, or not having, perhaps. Whether it's looking as a third party and observing what other people are going through, what they're experiencing. It might be a commentary on what's happening in the world, in whatever political circles you move in or you're interested in. It can be anything and everything. It's just initially to start writing. Start getting used to putting your ideas down. Start getting used to how you frame and communicate your thoughts, as I said, your experiences. It's really that process of transforming thoughts and considerations into a structured means of communication. And you might be surprised, you might not, but we have many conversations with artists, new artists, who haven't actually gone through this process. They may be kind of written 2 or 3 songs that they've thought, yeah, I've got my 2 or 3 songs, we can go. But that's way too early. Not to demean or diminish what they've done, not at all. It's not about that. It's just that the real catalyst, if you will, of accelerating and building and developing and evolving your songwriting is competence. Because the competence is the fuel which powers confidence. And your confidence around songwriting will allow you and facilitate you and drive you to, I'm going to say, do better. And I know that's quite a woolly statement, but do better can mean write better songs, very obviously. Do better can mean having that confidence to reach out to other people to create co-writing sessions. And do better can also mean having a slightly more, acute and growing self-awareness of what is actually a good song. What are you writing that is good? What are you defining as good? Because that will evolve as well the more competent you become in writing songs. So that really is kind of like the first fundamental stage of how to get your songs written. Is abundance, have an abundance of writing solo. And if you can't communicate that musically yet, if you can't quite figure out how to write and structure a song, again, there's lots of YouTube videos to help that, then don't label it a song. Don't feel pressured that you have to write songs. You might find that poetry is an amazing vehicle for you to start getting these thoughts and ideas out. You might find that short stories are a way of, again, formulating, constructing, thinking about your thoughts, if you will, in a way that starts communicating a message, an intention, a vision sometimes. So don't necessarily put that boundary around it of I have to write a song. The first step is just write something, and do it lots. Do it as much as you reasonably can, because that really is going to start even structuring your brain and your thought patterns and your abilities to, as I said, to communicate what it is you want to communicate. So first and foremost, don't worry about co-writing. Don't worry about working with writer-producers. Just write something. Just get used to writing something. It's gonna provide the framework of your growth as you move forward. When you feel you've got that competence coming and that confidence, well then what can be really useful is building out a palette of inspiration, if you will. So you can be looking at your contemporaries, so from the artists who are well established and from the artists that are coming up, they're emerging, they're starting to kind of grow a fan base, they're starting to become more omnipresent, if you will, in your sphere of awareness and in general kind of culture sometimes, or pockets of culture. Like really kind of dig around those people, those artists, and explore, analyze how they're writing, what they're writing about, this is when kind of thinking about structures can come into play. Like, how are they getting their thoughts across? How are they communicating their message? And this isn't about you copying, not completely, not copycatting what they're doing. This is just, again, this is kind of the next phase of starting to refine your thinking of how you're writing, refine how you're communicating, evolving how you're wanting to communicate. So it's really important to kind of get that understanding of other artists in the kind of style, the vein, the vibe, the ilk that you feel that you're going to kind of be exploring, and just dig down. It's not so much about whether you like something or not. I mean, of course, liking it's going to be handy, but it's much more granular than that at this stage. It's really digging down into what makes that song something that you are connecting with. What makes that lyric something that is moving you, that's making you feel that it's relatable to you. And again, so again, we're just building up our competencies, we're building up our knowledge, we're building up our refinement of our understanding of what we're doing. And it isn't trying to become someone else. It's not about that. This is just, again, adding to your confidence, adding to that pot of confidence and competence that will allow you to start to write better songs. It's a really important part of the process that, whenever we've spoken with artists, it's been a really key part of unlocking what their expansion and their growth towards a better understanding, a better delivery, a better process, a better outcome of their songwriting. So don't think of it as copying, but explore who's around you, explore who's around the scene that you're interested in, explore who's pushing boundaries in that scene, explore some of the commonalities. What are there common things that are all kind of intrinsic to those songs? It's not necessarily about the sound, we're not talking about production, but the songwriting of those artists that you're discovering, that you're engaged with, that you're interested in. It's a very good way of formalising and growing out your abilities, really. And don't forget, look, we get this question quite a lot of like, I don't really know what my unique selling point is, my USP. I often think that is too much focus, particularly at an early stage, because do you know what your USP is? It's you. You are by definition unique. The way you think is unique. The way you observe is unique. The way you communicate, the intention of your communication is unique. Yes, there are commonalities, but that is what makes you unique. So exploring how you communicate through songwriting, exploring how others have communicated in order to form a framework of you, then exploring more, that's just going to highlight and increase those moments of realization of, no, that's what makes me unique. That is my uniqueness. Like, it's a uniqueness of your communication. That's what this whole songwriting process is all about. So Like, really hold on to that. And the more you understand it, the more, I don't say entrenched, but ingrained it becomes in your understanding of yourself, the more confidence you'll have in communicating your ideas. And actually, the more confidence you'll grow in an openness of hearing other ideas, because you'll know that another idea from another songwriter in a co-writing session, for example, might be really strong. You'll know how to make that idea into something that's you, into something that is relatable and related to you. And you only really know that by doing lots and lots and lots and lots of times. Now, once you are gaining that experience and that confidence and that competence in your own songwriting, co-writing and collaboration generally it's an amazing vehicle for many, many reasons. A few of them are, you're likely to write better songs, and that's a very generalized statement, but generally, if you are working with other people, you can build on ideas, you can get that whole kind of two heads better than one thinking, you can bounce ideas off each other, which then tends to direct to a stronger ultimate idea. So collaboration is fantastic. Now, to facilitate starting those collaborations, you kind of need to think about what you're presenting. And often it's two things that are really useful to put in place. It's a Spotify playlist to kind of act as a reference playlist for the songwriting. Don't forget, we're not into the stages yet of thinking about your sound and sonic identity, those sorts of things. There are other videos for that. This is just about, again, your palette of inspiration displayed as a Spotify playlist so that you can have something to anchor your intention on when communicating with other writers that you might be approaching for a writing session, a co-writing session. So have your Spotify playlist, and then hopefully pretty obviously have a private SoundCloud playlist of the songs, the demos, the songs that you've written. Now, that might just be spoken word. That might be simply to a guitar or simply to a keys, whatever you might be able to play. It might be that you don't have that melodically yet, so a SoundCloud playlist maybe isn't the best format of communicating your ideas. But a Spotify playlist with some lyrical ideas, maybe some notes, maybe a Word document, a PDF, whatever it might be, well, that can start presenting your lyrical idea, your communication of thought ideas with the intention of the songwriting framework and structure, that sort of thing. So as long as you've got a means of communicating your intention and where you're actually at now, that is an amazing, I guess, product really to be able to present to other co-writers or artists in order to get collaborations. So you don't need a lot really to start kind of seeding those potential connections and creative relationships. And once you've got those two things, really, I know this might not sound thrillingly exciting right now, but it becomes an exercise in research. And don't forget, not just in this industry, but your career is front loaded with a lot of, I don't want to say boring, it should never be boring, but with a lot of the administrative research work, like who are you going to contact, when are you going to contact them? Like it's really about building databases and lists early on, because they should be relevant and useful for you at many different points in your career. So dig into the spreadsheets, people, really do. Like, love a spreadsheet, build out your contacts, create different tabs. But in this sense, in the how to get your songs written sense, the research can start in many different places. For example, your local community. Are there open mic nights? Are there unplugged or unsigned gig nights? If there are, get yourself along to them. And don't be afraid to talk to the performers after. See if they write with other people. See if they co-write for other artists. Don't worry too much about putting a specific intention on it, like we've got to write a song for your artist project or we've got to write a song for my artist project. Not early on, just collaborate. However you feel that might be beneficial to the both of you, do that. So your local area on the live scene, very important, very useful. Of course, we've got things like Facebook groups, you've got Reddit, you've got Discord, you've got those platforms that have groups within groups that might be focusing on songwriting in your area. Get involved with them. Always do this safely, of course, but don't be too nervous or concerned about putting your stuff out there. Look, I'll tell you now, I'll burst the bubble now. You will get ghosted. You will. You probably will get rejected. Someone will say no. Don't anchor your own progress on someone else's thoughts or commentary or lack of response. That will not empower you. That will not allow you to empower yourself. Get stuff out there in sense of communicating with the communities, local communities and groups you're finding, and just speculate. See if you can get some sessions. Look, it's likely to be quite intimidating first of all. That's okay. That's okay. We need challenges in our life, and each time you push through that uncomfortable feeling, each time you achieve something you didn't think you might be able to achieve, that's going to, guess what? Add to your competence, add to your self-awareness of the competence you're building, and continue to build confidence. So reach out to people. Push through the uncomfortableness, reach out to people. Spotify is also, it's an amazing tool for the creatives around music. If you go to, again, like artists you're finding that are maybe just starting to break through, not so much the really established ones at this stage, but the artists that are just popping through, and you're hearing them on some playlists, you might hear them on local radio, and really immerse yourself in where you're at. It's okay to be in that kind of budding, emerging, early artist writer stages. That's fun. That's the good stuff. And then use the show credits function on Spotify. And show credits, you'll be able to find the writers of the song, build up your database. You might then be able to find that writer on, if they've got a website, on socials, of course. There will be means and ways of finding out how to connect with that aforementioned writer. So use Spotify in terms of the credits part to discover a community of the creatives, if you will. We in the UK have a local radio initiative called BBC Introducing. I'm sure there are similar sorts of things around the world, wherever you might be listening to this and watching this. That's an amazing platform in the UK for finding new emerging talent. To be accepted or played on a local BBC Introducing radio station is kind of an immediate filter. Most of the DJs, the presenters on those stations, are only playing stuff that they think is either starting to cut through or has a lot of potential to cut through. So it's kind of an immediate filter of artists who are genuinely emerging. Again, reach out to those artists. You might use the show credits thing on Spotify to find out who's been writing with them, but don't put a block in reaching out to the artist direct just to see if you can get a writing session, a collaboration. Again, to reiterate, doesn't have to be for you as an artist, doesn't have to be for them as an artist. It can just be a moment of collaboration, a writing session. So don't step back before you step forward. Like, put no barriers in place, go for it, connect with them. Because you might get some great sessions, and more importantly, you probably might get some great songs. On that note, actually, we'll rewind a little bit. Don't put too much pressure on having to write great songs every time. Oh, please don't. Just don't. Just write songs. I will tell you now, most of the songs you write will not be great. But that's okay. we kind of need to write the not so great stuff out of the way. And anyway, like, it's not always about having a great song when you're writing. You might have a great line within a song. You might have a great pre-chorus. It doesn't mean that that pre-chorus always has to sit in that song as an entirety and forever be an average song, or sometimes not even very good. It's okay. You are allowed to write stuff that's not very good. It's the writing that's important. So don't put a pressure on having to write a great song. If you get one or two great ideas, that's cool. That's brilliant. You can build on those at a later date. Of course, we can't talk about anything today without talking about TikTok or Instagram. There are communities of writers around there. People are putting their stuff out on TikTok, just the songs, not necessarily the recorded stuff. Again, if you feel like someone is just emerging, they're just coming through, they're just starting to get a little bit of attention, reach out to them. Reach out to them. All we're doing is practicing collaboration. That's what that's the intention of what we're doing. So reach out. It's also practice. It's good practice for you to reach out. Is a certain way you're communicating with someone working? If it's not, transform it. Try something different with the next group of people. You'll eventually work out what really resonates, and that's an important process as well. Other areas to research, if you've got local music colleges near you or music courses that are being run, reach out to them. Either go on a course if it's a short course and you can afford it, or ask if there's a way of reaching or sending your stuff to the people on that course and see if they'll reach out to you. So again, there's pockets where it's more likely there are going to be musically creative people, songwriters there. And then finally, I think just focus on building that bank of songs. As I've said before, like, it's not about having every song great or every song finished necessarily. Have a bank of songs that become a communication tool of your ideas. They become a reference for other songwriting sessions you might be in when you've got like, oh God, we had that great line that actually it wasn't part of a good song, but I can pull that into this session and oh great, it's transformed that song. Have that bank of songs behind you that you can refer to, that, as I said before, that can keep empowering you and pushing you on and giving you more confidence and increasing your competence. Like that bank of songs is so powerful. And as you write more songs, like, be conscious of expanding your sphere of awareness, self-awareness. You'll be able to be more constructively critical over the songs you're writing or the parts in the songs you're writing if you can become consciously self-aware, which is a challenge, but understandably there is sometimes a very easy mechanism of becoming so attached to a song that you've written that you become almost distracted from the truth of that song. It might not actually be a brilliant song structurally, or a couple of lyrics might benefit from being changed, but if you're so attached to that song and how you've written it, then there can be a danger that you've missed out on turning a good song into a great song. So have the confidence, of course, this isn't a contradiction of what I've been saying, not at all, but it's just refining and building that self-awareness and almost analytical ability of thinking, now look, was that bit really that great? Has a line somebody else brought to the session improved that song? And if it has, go for it. Go for it. Ultimately, you do want to build a bank of great songs. They're just not all going to be great from the outset. Thank you everyone for watching, everyone for subscribing, everyone for following us, everyone for commenting and for sharing the video. That's all now. Take care. Bye bye.